I'm going to be very brief this morning because I actually have some time at the end that I'll be signing an executive order to establish something new. So I'm going to reserve my comments for that time period. But other than just to thank everyone for being here today. I think we had a very productive last FWICC meeting, and I look forward to another great meeting today. So thank you for your time and attention.
So we have two, the mayor's not here today, so we have a certain city council president and representative from the mayor's office. So I'm going to defer to city council president for a remark on behalf of the city, and then one of the representatives from the mayor's office as well.
Thank you, Mr. Hollison. Good morning, and thank to the governor and all of you for being here this morning. And I thank you for coming together as a team and helping us through this crisis. I want to thank the governor for the initiatives he's putting together, the programs, and we just welcome you this morning. We're here to get to one goal, and that's to see this all come to a resolve, and we can go back, as I say, to our everyday ordinary living. And we appreciate the governor for all that he's trying to do, and all of you are here this morning. We thank you.
That was really good. Short. Okay, and also Mark from the county.
Well, as we speak, the County Health Department, in collaboration with the Department of Health and Human Services, the CDC, is holding a rollout of the new ASHRA guidelines, which are designed to reduce Legionella problems in high-risk buildings. So that's occurring at the County Administration Building as we meet here this morning. The Health Department also submitted a HUD lead reduction grant and Healthy Homes grant this past month. We're investigating additional ways to increase Medicaid expansion and outreach, and have a meeting set up with the Kellogg Foundation next week. The county board passed a recommendation to include a health and all policies approach to decision making. So the county board of health is interested in trying to promote that initiative. The health department, through our Healthy Start project, will be sponsoring a Flint Fatherhood Conference on Friday, June 10th at Riverside Tabernacle as part of our Healthy Start initiative. And the County Health Department, along with Department of Health and Human Services and our partners at Wayne State University, released a press release on Legionella that included information and a frequently asked questions document for the public. So that information is available as part of our programs to try and address the Legionella issue as it's been associated with this.
That's it? Okay, so we're doing great on time because we're supposed to be at 20 minutes or 10 minutes into the agenda, so this is good. Captain Kalinsky.
Thank you. Just wanted to provide an update on the State Emergency Operations Center. Every day we still have state personnel that are working in the SEOC to support the city of Flint, and that's in conjunction with the county or the local Emergency Operations Center. The mission still stays to ensure there are adequate supplies like water resources to support our operations, continuing door-to-door operations of Flint water response teams to address the access and functional needs list. And we're working on implementing the long-term recovery plan to include finalizing the community water resource sites, establishing the different memorandums of agreements, and taking care of some liability issues, or working through those with the water sites at the new locations, and then hiring and training personnel. Since January 9th, through water response teams and water resource sites, more than 1.2 million cases of bottled water, more than 119,900 water filters, more than 262,000 replacement cartridges, and more than 49,000 at-home water testing kits have been distributed to Flint residents, and that's as of the report I received yesterday. We are continuing to transition from the fire stations to the community water resource sites. 3 of the 4 remaining Flint fire stations that were staffed by the Michigan National Guard, we stopped distributing water supplies and closed those down on May 9th as we transition to the community points of distribution. Fire station number 3 is the last fire station with National Guard members, and we are looking at phasing out of that site around May 26th as we open up some additional community points of distribution. As far as the water resource sites, Flint residents are staffing community water resource sites as part of our work experience training program created through a partnership between the state of Michigan and GST Michigan Works. The new work experience placements have been trained by Michigan National Guard members to distribute the bottled water, the water filters, and other water supplies, and this is all part of the long-term recovery plan to ensure Flint residents have access to safe and clean water. And these are the positions that are funded by a grant from the U.S. Department of Labor, and this includes site leaders, laborers, warehouse workers, and delivery drivers. To date, there are currently 5 community water resource sites open to distribute water supplies throughout Flint, and those are in wards 1, 3, 6, 7, and 9. We're working on some additional ones to try to get one in every ward, and we'll continue to do that. Occasionally we run into some liability issues and some other things that come up, but we're doing our best to get those set up as quickly as possible. The hours of operation for the new centers are Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday, noon to 6, and Tuesday and Friday, noon to 8. And eventually we hope to have a community water resource site in each of those city 9 wards, as I mentioned. Until the water meets the standards that we need to have in place, we'll provide bottled water filters and cartridges to Flint residents. Applications for job opportunities are still being accepted. I believe, if I have it right, www.gsworks.org. Let me just look to see if there's anything. As far as home delivery, that comes up quite a bit. Flint residents who are unable to go to the community water resource sites to obtain water supplies can call United Way 211 to arrange for a rapid response delivery. Individuals with disabilities or with access and functional needs can also arrange for regular long-term delivery of water supplies. A question did come up: what if it's a temporary? If somebody, breaks a leg or has an injury and they can't get to the site, absolutely call 211. If you have even a temporary condition where you can't get out, that's a reason to request resources be delivered. And then the last topic I did want to bring up, it's extremely important, is recycling. We had set recycling up early on in this. Flint residents do have the ability to recycle empty water bottles and water filter cartridges, all at community water resource sites at the locations I mentioned. Recycling is no longer being conducted at the city's fire stations, though. If you have empty water bottles or any used water filter cartridges, don't hesitate to drop those off at the community water resource sites. And we do have plastic bags there for recycling, and drop-off stations are available at those sites. But I do want to just remind everybody, all Flint residents are able to sign up for curbside recycling through Republic Services, and this is a services that is already paid for through local municipal taxes collected by the city of Flint. So this is a great time to reiterate the importance of recycling, not only in the city but in the state, and really we need to push to get people signed up to utilize that resource. And that is all. Any questions, sir?
Any questions? Yes, sir.
Jaleesa McDay, City of Flint. With regards to the 211 number, city residents are still having problems accessing 211. We get complaints that there are beeping sounds that they simply can't get connected. And also acknowledging that on May 16th, this past Monday, the water treatment plant incurred a security breach with some protesters or political action activists who staged a die-in at our facility. We are requesting support and acknowledgement for all water treatment plants across the state, recognizing that water infrastructure and the water treatment plants are indeed critical infrastructure under Homeland Security. We would ask that residents at this time and ask for this committee to acknowledge that we're not accepting samples, water kits, at the water treatment plant anymore. It is important that we maintain a secure site for the water that's being processed, and that's the extent of what I have to say about that.
Okay, we'll get with our communications folks and see if we can help maybe with that messaging on the water sampling kits. And as far as 211, we'll look into that. We work with them on a daily basis, so when we do have issues brought to our attention, we can call them, and they immediately make changes, whether it's bringing in additional staffing. So we'll look into that to see if that's been taken care of.
Yeah, well, just one other comment I'd like to add to Captain Colincy's comments. Actually, I'm going to an event after this to do some recognition for the Michigan National Guard. We're actually in that transition phase, which I think is great, that we're going to continue to have Flint residents take over the role being played by the Michigan National Guard. But they've been here since January, and there's been roughly 400 members of the Michigan National Guard, both the Army and the Air, that have been serving in Flint for some time. As the captain mentioned, they're winding down towards the end of this month. We have several members of the Michigan National Guard here today. I just ask that we recognize them and give them a round of applause for their service. They truly are great citizens. They're citizen soldiers, and they come to our need when we need them. So it's wonderful the role they played, and I thank them for their great service. And I hope the citizens of Flint appreciate the service they've given, trying to help everyone. And I think it's absolutely wonderful that we're going to be employing Flint residents to continue that good work that they've been doing. So thank you.
Any other comments on Captain Colincy's report? All right, seeing none, Ms. Horton, Community Foundation.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you. What I'd like to do today is tell you a little bit about the Community Foundation and then focus on the resources that we have been privileged to steward as a result of the water crisis and some of the resources that we have deployed into the community as a response. The Community Foundation was established in 1988 and came about as a result of a merger of two pre-existing organizations, the Flint Public Trust and the Flint Area Health Foundation. So we have always had a very strong emphasis on health because of our originating assets. In 1988, those two organizations had a combined $10 million in assets. We are one of 700 community foundations across the United States. Community foundations are a significant part of community life in the United States. Michigan happens to be among the strongest in terms of states. Every county in Michigan is serviced by a community foundation. I think that's unique in the whole nation. And so community foundations have a particular strength in Michigan. Our service area is defined as Genesee County. This is our thumbnail sketch. So community foundations' assets result from individuals or organizations or businesses who have had a typical passion and care in their life and then work with the community foundation to establish permanent funds that will exist for the lifespan of the community. So after our 28 years of existence, we have 450 of those funds that have been established. A little over 400 of those are endowed funds, meaning they are meant to be permanent. They will go on in perpetuity. And 40-some are non-endowed funds, which means they will be expended over a shorter time period. We are privileged now to steward $164 million in assets, and those have come as a result of over 25,000 people making contributions to the Community Foundation. We typically grant into the community between $4.5 and $5 million out into the community each year. And last year we were privileged to celebrate a mile marker that our cumulative grant making went over of a community foundation is not its dollars, it's its people. We go to great lengths to have many, many community people involved in our community foundation. And we, on average, have well over 200 people each year who play a role in the decision-making processes in terms of deployment of resources. Like many high-performing organizations, we organize our life around a strategic planning process. I want to just mention in 2013, when we were involved in our latest plan development, what our board identified as the priorities. We feel kind of responsible for the whole community, so we always have to ask ourselves, of all the possible good we could or should do, what's the most critical thing for us to be focusing on in the near term? And when our board asked itself those questions, it came up with 3 strong priorities. The first was literacy, and this is because we wanted to make a major investment in something that could be a game changer for our community. And we know that literacy rates are the greatest predictor of life outcomes. So we have been working the last several years to really establish and support a broad-based literacy network that will have great ramifications over the years. Takes a long time, but over the years to really turn the curve in terms of literacy rates. The second was healthy food. We are very aware that our community, large parts of it, are food desert, and that healthy food is a critical health factor. So we have been working to establish actually a systems approach to creating greater access to healthy food. And the third is Flint neighborhoods. We had the opportunity to play a key role about 9 years ago in the redevelopment of downtown Flint. We feel very excited about what's gone on in downtown Flint, but it has made us keenly aware that one of the unintended consequences of that is that Flint residents often feel that they are not getting their fair share of redevelopment resources. We have a 20-year history of what's called Neighborhood Small Grants Program, which runs small resources available for block clubs, neighborhood associations, and our board wanted to see if we couldn't take this to a whole different scale, to where residents would begin to feel that they have access to larger resources to do the transformation that they desire in their neighborhoods, much like what we see going on in downtown Flint. And the fourth was our BHAG, our big, hairy, audacious goal. Community Foundation's niche is endowment, which means we spend a whole lot of time talking with older people about their estate planning, and when they die, great things happen in terms of assets coming in. Our lifespan in terms of that work is, we always say, if you want to live long, make a planned gift to a community foundation, because it'll guarantee you'll live at least into your 90s. We often have to take that very long-term approach, and it takes a long time for the fruits of our labor in any one year to actually materialize for good for our community. So we decided that, like everybody else, we needed to get outside of our comfort zone and not just focus on endowment, but our community needs were so great and so imminent that we needed to begin to do fund development that would mean immediate resources for immediate needs. So our board said this would be new work for us. We would commit to, over the 5-year period of this plan, to raise $10 million for things like literacy, healthy food, and neighborhoods that we could deploy immediately. So we had no idea that in adopting that goal to raise immediate resources for immediate needs, that we would be in a position where $10 million looks like the tiniest drop in the bucket. So the When that happened, we did what community foundations do, what our mission is. We had donors of a variety who came to us and said, we want to do something for the long haul. And we have been privileged to have 7 different funds, each with a unique purpose, basically, established as a response to the water crisis. I'm going to go through each one of these so you have an idea of what their purpose is and what the status of their assets are. The first is the Flint Child Health and Development Fund. This is this is the largest fund that we have the privilege of stewarding. It's the one that has gotten the greatest attention. It's often known as the Flint Kids Fund, or even as Dr. Mona's Fund. This fund came about as a result of several organizations who knew that we had an opportunity, with the focus of the state and the nation, beginning to understand the scope of what our community was struggling with, and that we needed to have resources for children, those most vulnerable and most impacted, that would last over the lifespan of those kids moving through childhood into adulthood. And Dr. Mona was the establishing donor of that fund that was set up as a very quick, immediate response. As of May 8th, and there's 2 different figures up here because we prepare gift reports monthly, and I want to share with you the details of the gift report that is really the last one we've generated, which was May 8th. We were just shy of $6 million. Actually, now, as of today, we're at about $6.7 million that has come into that fund. I want to help you understand the purposes are basically for health, education, and integrated social services for young children. We've had nearly 15,000 gifts come in. Many of those have been online. They have come in from around the world, even from places like Afghanistan, which is just amazing to us. All 50 states, we've had strong contributions from all 50 states, and you can see the breakdown in terms of within Michigan and then within Genesee County. So you can see that most of these gifts have come in from outside of Genesee County. This has been kind of the state and our country and the world's response in terms of providing resources. Almost every night I take home a stack about yay thick of gift acknowledgement receipts. That this is computerized, it gets kicked out, and I just can't bear for anybody to get something that looks like it's computer generated. So I spend my evenings just putting a simple note on each of those gifts and spending a moment absorbing the generosity that is coming in. And I can't begin to tell you the breadth of giving that is happening. We have 10-year-olds in California who've decided at their birthday party, instead of gifts, they want the parents of their friends to write out checks for this fund. And then the parents of those children match that. We have children designing T-shirts and doing T-shirt drives in their schools and selling those and sending the money in. We have dozens and dozens of can drives that have gone on in elementary schools across the United States and sent those in. We get gifts from inmates in correctional institutions. We have, I think there probably has been more blue jean wearing in the businesses of the United States in the last 4 months than ever before, because companies do a casual blue jean day and they raise the money and send it in. Every type of faith institution that you can imagine. It is not unusual for me to be saying thank you to a synagogue, a mosque, a Unitarian Universalist church, and a Greek Orthodox church, all within minutes. So huge outpouring from the faith community. This is the breakdown in terms of how these gifts are sourced. So you can see, and this is true for philanthropy in general, the huge number of gifts have come in from individuals. We've had a good response from foundations. And then the trend right now is so many businesses are doing these fundraisers that the employees dream up of and then management is matching. This gives you an idea of the size of gifts. So again, you can see most of these gifts are relatively modest. They're less than $1,000. It's a typical kind of pyramid in terms of the gifts that have come in. What's really important to note here is that we at the Community Foundation have yet to make one ask for any of this money. Now, there are others out there. Dr. Mona, particularly, our Lieutenant Governor, has been very helpful and instrumental in gifts. We have ambassadors out there, but as the Community Foundation, we have yet to really move. Well, we're now moving into a proactive mode in terms of the fund needs. We estimate that this fund is going to need between $50 and $100 million if it's really going to have the kind of wraparound, fill-the-gap resources for these children and their families for the next 20 years. So we are thrilled to have $7 million in the door, but we have a very, very long journey ahead of us to raise the kind of resources that are going to be critical. My favorite description of this fund is actually something I've heard the Lieutenant Governor say. He calls this Flint's Self-Determination Fund, recognizing that very soon the spotlight will be gone and we will be on our own, and we will need to have discretionary resources to really do critical things for these kids and their families. The other funds that have been established are the Healthy Food and Safe Water Fund. This is the result of the Michigan Health Endowment Fund decided to do a certain amount of its grant making through community foundations throughout the state. There was a competitive process. It was based on a per capita formulation, and we were able to get what was the maximum for our area. And the Health Endowment Fund did ask us, when we first did this proposal, we did it for our access to healthy food. This was right before we became aware of the water crisis. And in giving us this grant, they did ask us to use 100% of this gift related to lead mitigating food and safe water. So this has gone 100% toward the water crisis. Flint Water Works is a unique fund that was established when the Clinton campaign had first come into Flint to try to understand the situation we were in. They had a very high net worth donor who wanted to do something, and so they reached out to the mayor and said, what is most important to you in this near term? And her response was putting young people to work in the water response. So we had $500,000 come in from the Pritzkers to establish the mayor's initiative called Flint Water Works. It's an initiative that puts opportunity youth, that's 16 to 24-year-olds, to work on the Flint water crisis response. And we've been designing this. The applications are flooding in right now, and we expect these young people to begin job training and employment services within the next several weeks. Our dream for this is that it becomes a life changer for them. So we don't want to just employ them for the 20 weeks that we have the money for. We're working closely with Mott Community College to really try to engage these young people back into education and try to get them on a career track that could really make a difference. Safe Water, Safe Homes Fund and the Car Cares Fund for Flint were established by Brandon Cars, an NFL football player. He wanted to do something that would make a difference for Flint residents. So the Safe Water, Safe Homes Fund is for residents who've had damaged appliances or who have lead plumbing in their households and they don't have the financial wherewithal to replace them. It is not a big fund at this point. You can see that, just a little over 30,000. Now we have all these funds up on our website, and we've had over 100 people give gifts to it after Brandon established it, but many of the gifts come in at small levels. So this is a fund that we know needs to grow seriously to meet the need, but it would be, and we're aligning it with the city's fast track program so that as lead service lines get replaced, those households, particularly high-risk households, would have the first access to these funds available.